are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. Hey. Whoa! I am your host, Colin Austin, and my co-host is the savagely sarcastic COE, Chief of Everything of New Scooters for Less, my man, Michael Dees.
Am I that sarcastic? I don't know. Savagely sarcastic?
I mean, somebody thinks you are.
Yeah.
They wrote it in the copy here.
It was Rebecca, wasn't it?
I can only read what's written on the paper, man.
I'm like a little sarcastic.
Yeah. How are you?
Dude, I'm well, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anything new going on? New year, January. This episode goes out January 13th, man.
And they keep
2020. I'm loving it.
Can you believe it's 2020 already?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I literally booked a haircut the other day, and they were like into 2020, and they're like, no, we can't do this because we're not ready for the new year yet. I was like, oh, well, okay.
Dude, a new decade too.
Yeah.
2020. And it's funny because everybody keeps saying, oh yeah, you know how we did like our word? We did like our word of the year.
Right.
And so everybody else has been like, yeah, our word of the year is vision. Because of
2020.
Like I've heard so many people be like, "Oh, our like focus for 2020 is vision." I'm like, "Your focus, vision, 2020." I got it.
So as somebody that takes what other businesses are doing and does a complete opposite, what is the word for? I mean,
our word's not vision. I mean, I was kind of going the same direction at first, but then I'm like, no, everybody's doing this, so we need to change it up.
So we got to do something.
I mean, okay, so
different.
if you had to summarize 2020 in one word, like a focus, what would you say?
Oof.
That was on the spot.
The dead silence.
That was on the spot. That was good.
See, that's tough because like
coming to you next week
right.
on the podcast.
Because I would almost want to say like focus, like a more like tailored focus, but focus also sounds vision related and 2020 related, and that seems like a cop out. So I don't know. Oh yeah, next week. Next week
write it down in your notes.
We'll have a revisit on this.
We'll have that. So cool, man. So there's some events going on in Gainesville.
There are
as we approach February actually. So like, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. We got the 2020 Gainesville Heart Ball. It's a black tie event that offers an evening of dining, dancing, live and silent auctions. All proceeds go to the American Heart Association and their efforts to fight heart disease and stroke, specifically through research, education, and outreach. That event is on Saturday, February 15th, 2020. That's my 34th birthday eve. And it's at the Hilton UF Conference Center, so be sure to check that out.
Awesome.
And you know what, too?
We had co-host fill in back in the... I'm trying to think how long ago that was, but it was a long time ago. But Joe Lowry, who came on the show and interviewed with me, which was really great. Like that's something that's super personal to him. And like, I don't know, hopefully he doesn't care that I say this, but like his son had surgery at a very young age due to some of that stuff. So he's very involved and so I would just say, please like support that organization. Doing a lot of good out there. So go to the Gainesville Heart Ball, February 15th, 2020. And I want to let everybody know the 10th annual Gainesville Real Estate Forum is being put on by Bo Beery and James Moore CPAs and Consultants. You guys, this is gonna be a really great time to get your knowledge of what's going on, the trends, and really in Gainesville's real estate market. It's going to be Thursday, February 6th at the Best Western Gateway Grand. They're doing networking from 4:30 to 5:30, and then the show's starting at 5:30. And it's cool because they're doing a panelist of speakers this year. And they're going to have Betsy Pepin of Pepin Realty, Charlie Lane from UF, and Stephen Weeks, the housing program manager of Alachua County. They will all be there on that panel. I know it's going to be really, really good stuff. I'm excited to go to it. And so be sure to go to Gainesville RE for real estate. So GainesvilleREforum.com to get your tickets and to get those now, because this event will sell out. It's sold out virtually every single time they've done it. So, and I've seen footage from previous ones and it's really good. So go check it out. GainesvilleREforum.com.
Definitely seems like an interesting time for real estate in Gainesville, especially from the commercial side. There's always cranes going up.
Lots happening, man. Lots happening. So, well, cool. You ready to get into the show?
Get into it,
I'm
man.
like super excited, you guys. Today on the show, We have Brian Aurilio, owner of Brooker Pest Control, a full-service pest control company offering termite, mosquito, and lawn control right here in Gainesville, Florida. What is up, man?
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing great.
He's all loose. He's ready, ready to get going.
It was the hype
it's
song.
funny. So like, it was the hype song. It was that Eminem "Lose Yourself" right before. He was like, "Let's go, let's go." He was like, I listened to that on my way over this morning. I'm like, I'm sure you did. So Brian and I first met at Greenhouse Business Leaders, right? So this is a group that I like to go to on Thursday mornings. So I'm gonna give them a little shout out because it's really awesome. It takes place at Greenhouse Church every Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. and it's a group of business leaders that get together and we share our problems a lot. all of us business owners. I think that's good. Like it's almost like a little mini mastermind session, and you get in there and you have the opportunity to really check, really, share and get the knowledge of other business leaders from not only from a business, wisdom standpoint, but from a faith perspective as well, which is really, really cool. So anybody who's listening, you want to go check it out, please do. It's at Greenhouse Church, 7:30 on Thursday mornings. But that's when I first met Brian, and then of course, all these problems that I'm bringing to the group, like Brian sitting there answering them all and solving them all, and I'm like, man, this guy just knows his stuff. So I'm like, Brian, you got to be on the podcast, man. Let's do it. Let's do a podcast episode. And so he is here today, and I'm super excited to get into this. So we like to start with everybody just kind of telling their story. Why does somebody get into pest control? And what got you to Gainesville? You weren't were you born and raised here or anything?
No, I was born in New York, Albany.
Okay.
And my parents worked for my dad worked for GE, and they were shutting down all the plants. And there was a bait and tackle business for sale in Hawthorne, and my parents bought that business.
From when they were in New York?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we got to Hawthorne, Florida, and that's where I went to school at. So I've been here since '77.
Hold on. So I'm you've been here since '77?
Right.
Okay. How do your parents in New York find out about a business for sale in Hawthorne, Florida?
My grandfather was he was in the trout farm business, and he had connections everywhere, and he was involved with that business in some way. And he put my dad in contact with the lady who owned it. And trust me, when I first came here, I was like, we left New York for this. But it was good business. My parents did well. Everybody in Hawthorne knows my parents. My brother still runs the business today. I left the business probably at the age of 15.
Okay.
I was glad. I love fishing, so if you fish, you don't get a chance to when you work there.
Okay.
But that's how we got to Florida. And like I said, I went to school in Hawthorne. A lot of people don't like small schools, but I thought it was great. I graduated with everybody that I went to kindergarten with.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
You know everybody, and everybody in that town knows you. You know their kids, and so it's fun. I don't go back there as often, but I still run into them all the time, and so it's neat for that part of it. And for pest control, it was just a pure mistake. One of my friends had gotten a job for Brooker's Pest Control. It was owned by Jimmy Brooker, and he said, "We have an opening for you." And Mr. Brooker offered me a job. I was making $8 an hour back in 1990.
Okay, so how old were you then?
19.
Okay, 19.
And I got going into it, and it was like a game for me. And you build your own route, so you really are taught to run your own business from that point on. And I just excelled in it. I did really good for him. And then he sold the business in June of '94. And Arrow Exterminators out of Atlanta, Georgia, bought it. And the day they bought it, the owner asked me to be a salesman. I said, man, I'm not a sales guy. I said, I like doing my tech. He said, just try it. He goes, give me 6 months. If you don't like it, you can go back. And I never turned back.
Okay.
Once I got into sales, I loved it. It was fun. You meet different people every single day. And I've always enjoyed that, just meeting different people and their personalities and trying to get along with them. And selling was just fun. You could always do something different, find new business, and that's where we did this at. And then I think it was in '05 they promoted me to manager and sent me to Savannah, Georgia. And after about a year and a half there, I realized after working at that office, if I could work there, I could own my own business.
Okay.
That was the hardest office I ever worked at. And my wife told me, let's go back to Gainesville. And I found this business for sale as a one-man operator out of the town of Brooker. So when you start a business out of the town of Brooker, you're not going to be doing too much. So, but we did. We got going, and after 3 months, I knew the business in Gainesville. I knew we would be fine. I had so many connections here. And after 3 months, I was needing another employee. And that's when I hired Cody. He was my very first hire, and he's my manager today. He's been with me. It's going to be 13 years he's been with me.
Dang, that's cool.
And the very next guy I hired was Mitchell, and he's been with me 10 years, and he's still with us. So most of my staff has been with me, I think, about 6 years or longer. There's 20 of us now. And as you know, I don't really advertise. I just do everything by word of mouth. And I think that's the way I like it. Most of our customers are awesome. I mean, we build a good rapport with them. They love our technicians, and the technicians love the customers.
You say most of them. Am I like the one that's not?
We don't
most of them.
We don't talk
awesome.
about you too often.
That's funny. So okay, you get that job. You said in Savannah,
Georgia.
All right, Savannah, and you were there for how long?
It was right at 2 years.
2 years. So in this, you're like, all right, I can do this, right?
Oh yeah.
And wife's like, all right, go back to Gainesville. Let's go back to Gainesville. Let's do it. So you find this biz. I mean, had you just been saving up money while you were working, and then you go and you like offer? Like, how did you?
I'm the typical business guy. Okay. I didn't save no money.
Okay. Didn't save any money.
You react on your emotions. Basically, like a lot of people, either you react because you feel good about it, or something in the business causes you to leave. And I think that's what happened with me. I got to a point where I was a little agitated, and I just felt like, you know what, I can do this. I'm gonna go back. And so when I came back, I couldn't get a loan to buy the business. No one would give me a loan. And my high school best friend, his mom worked for M&S Bank. And she said, I can't get you a loan, but I can put you in contact with the right people.
Okay.
And I sat down with them, and they gave me that loan. And
what, the right people?
The right people. But they made me write out a business plan.
When you say right people, it is like private investors?
No. The bank, M&S Bank, gave me the loan.
Oh, okay.
I had to write out a business plan, sit in front of their little board.
I thought it was like just connections of the person you were talking to.
No, she put me in contact with, like, I think it was Jim Stewart and Greg Grissom and a few other people in town, and they gave me my loan. They told me they believed in me, and I think just hearing someone tell you they believe in you, that made you excited. And after about 3 months, you realize, okay, that's not going to get you nowhere. You're going to have to get out there and start.
All right, so what year was that?
That was 2007.
So 2007 is when you launched.
That's when I went in business. Yeah, we went in business for ourselves. It was just me and Robin operating out of a little hole in the wall of our house, and we had everything crammed in one room.
So, I mean, so you bought somebody else's
It was
business.
A one-man operation, yeah.
So it was a one-man operation. Mm-hmm. Did that make it easier when you were talking to M&S Bank about like this money? Because like, did the guy have like history reports to show that it was profitable, or was it even profitable, or do you even remember?
It was profitable. It wasn't that much, but he hadn't. When I say he had nothing to offer, meaning they want assets. That he had a truck,
right?
And M&S Bank doesn't want lawn spraying customers. They want assets that something doesn't. So I had to, you have to piss stuff up as collateral, what you can do. So I gave my retirement up as
collateral.
As collateral. So never had to touch it. So you came along, you helped me out. So that saved me.
I just find that super fascinating. Because it's not easy, right? Like you're gonna have to put up something. So what is it? Like, is it a house? Is it your retirement? How are you gonna back it?
Youngest child.
I mean,
I tried that. They wouldn't do that. What the other thing, I guess I was kind of naive to the point too. I thought all the people I did business with and people I were made relationships with, that all of them would just jump in and want to help me. And it wasn't like that. A lot of people feel threatened when you come back and you go in business for yourself, like you're taking something from them. And I was like, wow, I mean, I can't believe that's how it was. So when I met the business group, when I started going there, I was like, oh my gosh, it'd have been so nice if I would have met this place when I first bought the business.
Oh, that's so true, man. I talk about like mastermind groups or just like that small group. Yeah. I mean, it's super valuable just to be able to, one, understand that you're not alone And, because entrepreneurship is lonely. It's incredibly lonely. And so to know that, hey, there are other people that go through the exact same things that I go through as a business owner, is not only does it make you feel a little bit better about your problems and your situation, but you get valuable advice to be able to actually help you through the situation or grow your business or whatever the case might be.
Yep. So we've done that, and every year it's just, it's a chart that you want to see. Everything just keeps going straight up. We have troubles at times where you're like, how am I going to pay the bills? And we've been there. I mean, you write all the bills out and you're like, oh crap, don't let us get a flat tire or nothing this week. We're pretty tight. But, fortunately I've learned from all the mistakes. As you fail, you learn. And that's what makes you a better business owner when you do fail. Your employees, they don't realize it sometimes when you're actually failing, because you don't want them to see how bad things are at times. You got to keep that happy face on.
Yeah.
And so, the first year and a half was probably, I think, my toughest. There was just one of those things because no one would give you loans. No one wanted to give you credit. Everything I bought, they made you pay for it on the spot. Now everybody wants to give you, take 30 days. You can take it on. So it's definitely a lot different as you get bigger. You do get treated better. So
do you mind telling us what that initial loan was?
It was $100,000.
$100,000.
Yeah.
And so how did you did you know exactly how you were going to invest that money, or where you were going to put it? I mean, you had a truck. Were you instantly I'm going to go get another team member, I'm going to go do this? Or what was going through your mind with?
I said, in my mind, I couldn't afford to pay anybody. So basically, when you get a loan for a pest control business, like I said, this is why they want assets. Well, that asset, he owed 40-something thousand on that truck. So the first thing you have to do is pay that truck off. So 40-something thousand of it went straight to pay that truck off. So the rest of it was to pay him for the business. And right there, I had nothing.
So you're I
literally
I feel like you should have planned a little bit better.
Trust me. But it was funny when I made that business plan and I told him how I was going to get the business. This is when the market went down. I made my name in the pest control business with real estate and working with the builders.
Yeah.
So when you're used to doing 100 real estate inspections a month and you drop down to 12, that's a big drop. When you're used to doing 20 to 30 homes for a builder and you drop down to one every 2 months, that hurts you. You're like, oh my gosh, where am I going to make this money up? And that's in the lawn spraying business. I always hated that part of the business. I was good at it, but I always hated it. It's just not where you want to start your business off at, because it's a lot of work. And basically what it comes down to, if that yard ain't green, it's your fault. So,
that's 100% true. I blame you when my yard's not green.
Oh, I know. That's people come right at us and trust me.
Luckily, it's green all the time.
But that's how it started. And you're right. It was not smart. It was dumb. My pride. I didn't want to go to my parents and ask them for help, because I didn't want my dad saying, I knew you'd come to me. But I did. I went to him because he told me I'd really like to help you, and they gave me a loan. I'll tell you, he gave me a $50,000 loan, and he said, I'll give you 5 years to pay it back. And I said, only way I'll do this if we do it just like a bank. You charge me interest, and we did that, and I paid him back in 3 years.
Cool.
And that way, I felt good, and I knew I didn't want to take their retirement from them.
Was there any chance, or did you even think of it as an option of asking that business owner to owner finance the business?
He couldn't do it.
No.
He's a friend of mine, and he.
Okay.
Nope. There was no. It was funny. Everybody wanted me early on to go in business, and they would want to pay for it, but they wanted to be control ownership, and I didn't want that. I wanted to be the control of the ownership. And now that I've gotten successful, it's amazing how many of those people want to be partners with me now.
Of course.
I don't need a partner now. I got my wife. She's my partner.
Okay. So do you remember what month of the year that was when you bought that business?
Yep. It was May of 2007.
Okay. And do you remember by the close of that year, what your sales were?
Yeah, I grew it over 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew it over 100,000, and we finished the year out right at 200-something thousand. And I remember Cody, I was talking to him, and I told him, I said, as this business grows, your pay will increase and we'll get bigger and bigger. And he was like, you're crazy. This thing ain't gonna. At the end of the first year, he was like, how did you know this? And I was like, everywhere I've ever gone, the businesses in pest control has always grown. And this is the way I've seen it grow in all the years everywhere I've been at. So I think Savannah was my biggest, eye opener, because I took that business there, it was in the hole, and after the first year, I grew it by almost 300,000. And I said, wow, these people are making some money. And I said, I need to get back to Florida and do this. So,
and then you realized that you had all these expenses as a company.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, they bought everything for me, and they did all the advertising, so it was easy for me to make money. And then you have to start doing it yourself, and it's a big change.
So what was the biggest realization from going from employee to employer and all that time?
The first true, probably the second payroll, when this one big job we did and hadn't paid yet.
Oh, man.
And I mean, pretty much all my credit cards were maxed out. And I was like, oh my gosh. I remember calling the guy and I said, hey, I was just going to call, see if that check's ready. We could really use it today. And he actually goes, it is actually. And then I went straight to the bank and I put it in the bank, and that check was gone by the end of the day.
Oh, man.
That's okay.
You made it.
I made it.
I know that feeling all too well, man. Sometimes I feel like it's a shell game. I'm like, all right, which account am I gonna like? I'm like shifting stuff around, moving stuff from personal to business, trying to like make sure I can like cover payroll.
It was always positive on Friday afternoon if I had a couple $100 in the bank.
Yeah.
I was like, we made it through the week.
How much credit card debt did you have in that time?
So, it's a funny story. I was going after this big sale, and they gave it to me. I never counted on getting it. So when I called the chemical company, I said, hey, I need to buy this. It was like almost $20,000 worth of product. They said, how are you going to pay for this? I said, as soon as I finish the job, I'll pay it. He goes, no. He goes, we want to be paid up front. So I took all my credit cards. So I was $20,000 in debt.
Okay.
And so
you're like, yeah, well, you take 7 different credit cards. Like, what?
It was only 3. And when I told my wife, I said, you literally, we can't buy nothing. She didn't realize how serious I was about we could not buy nothing. She's like, hey, I tried to use. I said, I told you there was nothing on those things. So, but no, we did
the bag of rice and the beans.
Oh yeah, we was
the ramen noodles. It's like college all over again.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's funny.
So, but it worked out good. I mean, we've grown. Like I said, we've moved. We was forced to move 3 times, just because of growth, and
just needing more space,
more places
more parts.
For team members. So, like right now, we're at a spot in the company, and it's a good problem to have. But it's frustrating. But I bought the location where I'm at now, and I love it. It's beautiful. I'm very proud of it. But we don't have enough parking now. I needed almost another half acre.
Would be a good company benefit?
Scooters
for everyone. You can give everybody a scooter. We could wrap them. It could be the Brooker Pest Control scooters.
Maybe
and
I can get that 3-wheel scooter out there and start doing pest control out of that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
We'll build you a custom trailer and everything. You can call it
spray tank on the back.
Absolutely. Don't think I won't. I'll take care of that parking problem for you. No problem.
That would solve it too.
So all the Brooker team members that are like listening to this, just
Merry
hit me
Christmas.
up. Yeah, we got you. That's funny. So Mike,
I want to talk about your hiring process, because you hit 2 home runs right away in your first 2 hires. It sounds like 13 years and 10 years. So what's the key to a home run hiring process?
Yeah,
there?
seriously.
Well, Cody had that rare quality. He was young and cheap. It's funny. He had just quit his job. He had called me and said, hey, I was wondering if you're hiring. I said, actually, I am. And I had him come do an interview, and I hired him on the spot. And he had a great personality. He does. I think you've met Cody before. He's just one of those guys. Everybody's his friend, and that's the kind of people you like to work. When I hire someone, I always try to listen to their story. Hear what kind of background they have and how their life is going, because you can tell a lot by just listening to them. And then I always try to see how they're going to fit in with me and my personality and with the other employees. And we build a team where we do everything together. And if one guy's behind or something like that, we help that other guy. And that's how we do things. And Mitchell, a lot of these guys too, their parents have taught them great work ethics. When you don't have to teach someone how to work and they already know that, that's a plus right there. And you can spot that. That's the way they dress, they hold themselves, and how they come in and how they answer your questions.
And how did you meet them?
So Cody, like I said, he called me looking for a job. Mitchell,
just like out of the blue, or did you?
Out of the blue.
Okay,
he
so
just
you didn't know him before or anything?
I never met him or nothing. Mitchell, he actually brought his daughter to my daughter's birthday party when they was in like first grade. And he was just talking to me one day. He goes, "Hey, if you ever have any extra work or something, I wouldn't mind working part-time." And he owned a crane business. He would set trusses for builders. Like I said, the market was down, so his business was down. So I hired him part-time. And after about a year, I told him, I said, "If you ever want to come full-time, I'll make a spot for you."
That's cool.
It took him 2 years to come to his senses, but but he's been with me. Both of those guys are tremendous, and even with my office, I think Angie's been with me 8 years now, and you couldn't ask for a better, office staff. She's the brains behind the computers and all that stuff. If I didn't have her, I'd be lost.
Dude, all of them, man. I mean, like the guys that even come through here and through my house, I mean, just super, super polite. And it's kind of, I mean, it really is inspiring because, I mean, I look at it as like a labor position, but they're just well dressed, they present themselves well, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think it's cool that you've established like a culture of high, like top professionalism in I mean, not to talk down about the type of job, but I mean, it's like spraying bugs. I mean, I don't look at it as
I used to be that guy that I remember when I was at school, I saw the Florida Pest Control guy come in there, and we all poked fun. Oh my gosh, look at that guy! I would never do that. And then I'm that guy now.
Okay.
But no, it's a great industry actually. It's one thing if you think about it, you can go anywhere in the state of Florida, and you can get a job. I mean, there's always bugs.
There are always bugs.
That's
That
right.
is for sure. I mean, so a little bit on talking about laborers, if you will. Yeah. I mean, in today's day and age, I mean, there's so much. We just live in a tech age. I think we even struggle here sometimes, like looking for great scooter technicians. I mean, have you had a problem finding people to do those types of jobs?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, like you just said, there's not a lot of people that want to get outside in 100 degrees, spray lawns, carry a 50-pound bag of fertilizer and fertilize, go up in attics, crawl underneath houses. So when I interview them, I tell them all the good stuff right up front. And you can see in their faces. And then I ask them, I said, one of the first things, have you ever crawled underneath a house? And they all say, most of them will say, no, but I'm willing to. Mm. So what we do is usually when they first start is we get them underneath there pretty quick. Because if you've never been underneath a house, I know the first time I did it, I didn't think I was going to be scared. That scared the crap out of me.
Well, like from a claustrophobic standpoint, or you came across a critter that scared the crap out of you?
I've always been scared of snakes.
Yeah.
And so that was my thing. There's going to be a snake. It's going to get me. And, really, in all honesty, I've hardly ever seen a snake underneath a house, around the outside, but underneath the house only a few times. But that's the biggest thing. And you'd be scared, amazed at how many people are scared of spiders.
Oh, I hate spiders.
You go underneath the house, there's a ton of spiders. So that would probably be the least favorite part of the position is going underneath houses. But, if you can get past that, pest control is not hard. It's really winning over your customers. If you got a good rapport and you can talk to them, most people are reasonable. You can talk to them, they'll understand if something goes wrong. But I think the way the core we built is to outservice our competition. And that's where my guys, I think, hands down, beat everybody else. They just outservice them, and they're always accessible, and they're polite, like you said.
Yeah, so how do you, what things have you done to train that?
Like I said, I don't think you can train some of that stuff, but I mean, when we do take the guys out, one thing I do different than any other company in Gainesville. Usually most companies, when I went through my training, in 20 days, I was on my own. Most of my guys go through about 60 to 90 days training before they're on their own. And they see how our guys talk to the customers, how they get to know them, play with the dogs. Our guys before when they go in a house, these customers know us. We know each other's kids. I mean, they become friends.
Right.
And a lot of the customers don't do business with Brooker Pest Control because of me no more. They do business because of the technician. It used to be I used to know every single customer, and it's a good problem, but I don't.
Have you had any, like, in that process, do they spend any time, like, with you, or is it always, like, shadowing a person? And the reason I ask is because, like, I mean, I think we do a great job with our team. We got incredible team members, but I also think sometimes, especially if there's ever times where you have to grow kind of quickly and you're gaining team members, you know, maybe it's not just bringing on one new team member in the year, but it's 5, what I would call copies of a copy, right? And so, you know, if you take a piece of paper and you copy it, and then you copy the copy and you copy the copy, like, it's not nowhere like the original, right? And so, like, how do you ensure that the team member who is being shadowed is, you know, doing the right job, doing the right stuff?
So if I got a team member that's getting complaints and it's not being resolved and he's constantly getting the same complaints, usually I'm involved at that point, and I start trying to figure out what's going on. And if we can't resolve it, I mean, I just make a change. So fortunately, you know, we catch it on early on. You know, if something's not working right, we, instead of trying to let the guy go or let the lady go, we said, okay, I see you struggling in this. And then we started working with them on it, trying to teach them and showing them. So most of our technicians, like I said, has been with me for a length of time. And we look at the amount of complaints that we get, and we see which technicians are struggling. So if I get a technician that's getting a lot of complaints, we'll come up to them and say, what's going on? Why is all this happening? Something's going on in your life? And just kind of poke around a little bit until they open up. But when I let a guy get trained by one of our techs, you can rest assured that's one of the guys I got a lot of trust in. Yeah. And I mean, I trained probably the first 5 to 6 guys quite a bit. I would ride with them, you know, and see how they're going, and I would critique them. I don't do it as much. You know, I got supervisors in my lawn department now, in my pest control, and they do all that training. My office staff, you know, I let the girls do the training. They kind of train them all this stuff. And then towards the end, I get involved. I let them, you know, just answer the phones around me and let them see how they're doing or see how the work's coming out. And I'll show up at jobs just to see how they're doing and make sure they're doing it to the standard that we like.
Cool. I think it's interesting. I mean, how do you go about getting that feedback? I mean, do you just send like customer surveys or anything, or is it just like if a customer has a bad experience, they pick up the phone and call you, and that the complaint's registered that way?
Well, like we was talking about with bugs, if you got bugs in your house, you're calling.
You're calling, right? That's true.
That's so true.
I mean, but no, I mean, it's so some of the customers I run into, and it's so nice when because it used to be when you'd be going out to eat, someone would see you, and it's like, I want to talk to you. I'm like, oh man.
You're like,
it's gonna be one of those talks. And now it's like, hey, your guy Karan, he is the most amazing guy, you know, and I get that. I love to hear that, you know. And
it's almost like proud dad moment.
Oh, it is. You know, and it's funny because me and Robin do really think of them as family. When I got this business going, and we offered someone a full-time job, I took that to heart. That I'm giving this person a full-time job, and it's my job to make sure I got enough business to where this technician will always get his hours. And I can say honestly, in the 12 and a half years I've had it, every person that works for me has worked full time, has gotten every bit of their hours if they wanted to work. If they didn't get 40 hours, that was on them. So
that's cool.
Yeah, the added challenge, and we talk about it with our driver position all the time, of somebody that's, you know, not necessarily working in an office constantly under leadership supervision or anything, but they're actually out there in the community representing your brand. You know, what are they saying? What are they doing? How are they acting whenever they're in company clothing? And sometimes that's just the truth. Is it's not as you know, professional as you'd want it to be, because there's this feeling that because I'm away from the office that it's just not the same. So that's always an interesting challenge there for having remote employees, and to hear such great things about the people that you employ, the technicians, that's well done, because I know that's not easy.
Well, 2 things, you know, that changed how business was done, you know, for pest control companies, you know, with social media, you know, or someone's doing something bad, everybody wants to take a picture of it.
Yes, they do.
And send it to whoever. So, I mean, so anytime my guys, this is all true. I've had people take pictures of my guys, you know, laying down on the side of a grass area underneath a shade tree. And, you know, it's hot. It was resting, but in their mind is your guy's screwing off. He's not doing the job.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And so I told the guys, I said, think about this. I know you just got done spraying for 3 hours straight, but that homeowner or that condo association, all they see is you sitting underneath a shade tree doing, and I said, perception, that's what it is. So I tell my guys, I said, you want to go cool off somewhere, go pull behind somewhere and just rest for a little bit, go in the bathroom, clean up, do stuff like that. Also, I put GPSs on the trucks. And, part of that was because I did have a couple employees that I wanted to check on. But the other part is to prove to the customers when they say, we wasn't at their house that day, I can say, look, I can't prove to you that he actually got out and sprayed your yard or went inside your house, but he was parked out in front of there for 28 minutes. And I can show you when he arrived and how long that truck was there. And, I think people's opinions change drastically when you can show them on a video of that truck driving up to their yard and just sitting there.
That's gonna be super rare though for you. I mean, I feel like
it doesn't happen.
Like gosh, your reputation's incredible. And like from the GPS standpoint, I mean, that's probably a good accountability thing. I mean, that's what we have to do as leaders, and I actually struggle with that a ton because I want to be friends with all of my team members. I want to be well liked and respected. I hate holding people accountable. I'm like, just show up and do your job. Like, don't make me ever have to get onto you. I don't ever want to have to get onto you.
When I got in management, that's one of the things they told me. They said you can't be friends with your employees. And I told Rob, and I said, that's just not a true statement. I said, I'm going to be friends with all the guys and the ladies that work with us. And I will say, I understand what they meant by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You do got to separate it a little bit. But I tell my guys, I tell them all up front. I said, man, I can be the coolest and fun guy to work with. We can go out and have a good time. I said, just remember though, 8 to 5, you're an employee, and we got a job to do. And I encourage all my guys and ladies. You got kids, if you guys want time off, you need to spend some time with your family. You got some kind of play you want. I never tell them no. I mean, that's one thing I think they like too. They know they can take off pretty much at any time and go do stuff. But I think, like you said, I never wanted to be the one to discipline them. And that was the hardest thing when I had to fire my very first person. Because you look the person in the face, and I don't just see them. I see their wife. I see their kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I should have given them another chance. But then how many chances can you give someone? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just what they did was just not enough. You can't do it no more. To me, if you lie or if you steal from me, it's done. I remember early on when I worked for that Mr. Brooker, when you used to walk out his back door, he had this full mirror on the back door, and it's always stuck with me. That said, "Would you let this person in your house?" And you were looking at yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man, I better straighten up my collar a little bit,
Okay.
And I just always, I don't know, it just always stuck
good.
with me. Yeah, so I always liked that.
I mean, through your career, I mean, was there anybody? I mean, like, did you have a mentor? I mean, where did you learn a lot of this leadership?
Probably, I guess most of it I learned on my own. But there was a man by the name of Jeff Singley. He's passed away now, but he was one of Arrow's vice presidents. And he always took a liking to me and just showed me stuff and taught me stuff. And I always liked the way he handled people. He just had this slow Southern accent, and he would be getting on to you, but you thought he was going to get a gift out of it. I was like, how's this guy get on to you and just punish you, and you don't feel bad about it, So I mean, and I think people like that, when you're around them, you always want to please them too. And that was one of the things. He was always so good to me. So I never wanted to let him down. So that was one of the things. I think he was probably one of the bigger influences.
Yeah.
So Brooker Pest Control, do they do just bugs? Do they do rodents? Do they do all like animal invasive like?
Well, we are a full service, so I pick and choose on some of the wildlife I help remove. Like we'll remove some squirrels and bats and some possums and stuff, but I quit messing with raccoons. I got taught a good lesson with a raccoon. So
really,
yeah. A lady
sounds like there's a story there.
Was a lady in Hale Plantation that called, and she had said that she had a big cat up in the attic. Could I help her to get it out? I said sure. I figured a cat wouldn't be that hard to catch and get out of an attic. Well, I get up there and it wasn't a cat.
Oh no.
So I did like any pest control person who's never messed with raccoons before. I Googled it.
That's the answer to everything, my friends.
It was. And, after watching it, 2-minute video, I knew I could do this.
Okay.
So I took a broom and I just jabbed it right in the back end of it.
That's what Google told you to do, huh?
Well, it said just to take and tap on the side and just, get it, because he was right there at the soffit, so I could see the hole where it came in at. I figured I would scare it and it would just run out of the hole and leave. That thing turned around and came running right at me.
No.
Okay, I'm short, so I can't reach up to touch the trusses or anything, and so I just kind of started backpedaling. I didn't fall through the roof or nothing, but I ended up kicking this raccoon, and all this noise was going on. I fell into the side of the trusses, and it did end up getting knocked out of the soffit. When I came down, that lady goes, "Oh my gosh, what happened to you?" I said, "Hey, the raccoon's gone. That's all that matters, But yeah, it was. I thought I was going to fall through her ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is that the craziest thing that's happened?
Probably the worst one was with a squirrel. It was 2 days before Christmas, and the lady had said a squirrel was in her pantry, and it was so I didn't want to do it, but she told me some property manager. She said he's real nice. He won't walk away. He'll help you. And I came over there 2 days before Christmas, and sure enough, she had a squirrel coming out of the pantry. It ate through, and her pantry was just loaded. Well, most ladies' pantries got jars and jars of stuff, so you know where this is going. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I can just grab this squirrel, and I grabbed the whole of it, and I had bite gloves on because squirrels will bite you. Well, that doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. And that sucker locked onto me, and it would not let go. So I'm,
Were you like screaming or like,
So I take the thing next to the railing, and I just whacked his head against the railing trying to get it to let go. The lady didn't freak out on me, but the husband's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "You have to be the cruelest guy I ever met." No. I was like, "Oh my he's gosh. Biting me, So I finally get this squirrel off, and this other squirrel came flying out the hole. And it knocks over the jars of spaghetti. So there's spaghetti sauce all over the place, and in the condo, it has a corner section. That squirrel ran up through the little hole in there. I'm like, how am I going to get this squirrel out of this hole? So I ended up calling this other wildlife guy to help me out because he was a pro at it. And after 2.5 hours, we get the squirrel out, and there's a family of squirrels up in that pantry.
No.
They just kept on coming.
Oh my gosh.
So we ended up getting them all out, and we've plugged a hole and got it sealed. That was a half a day before, 2 days before Christmas, so that was probably the worst.
I'm sorry, man, but we have a $50,000 squirrel fee.
Do you bill by the time or by the job on that?
Well, so I made the mistake and gave him a quote up front, so yeah.
Oh.
What
was that quote?
Well, I gave her a quote of like 175, but I had to pay the other wildlife guy 250, so I lost money.
That's the worst. Oh my gosh, all that time.
That was one of those learning experiences, you learn
you're like, yeah, we charge a $50,000 squirrel fee now.
No, yeah, so,
at least I would.
Yeah, well, you learn. I mean, so there's certain jobs I won't
So
do.
you're like, oh, you get a squirrel? Like, let me refer you to this great company.
I go before I give any quotes, I go look at them.
Okay.
And I'll make sure I can handle it.
Learn from failure.
Yeah, definitely learn. Yeah. So.
That's hilarious.
So do you find a lot of customers are concerned with the humane aspect of this?
Oh, definitely. We, I got to watch what I say because but we had one customer that had rats in their house in the duck pond area, and it wasn't just a little bit of an infestation; it was a lot.
No.
And so we was catching them, but she was letting them go as we caught them because she didn't want us to kill them. And I told her, I asked, what's going on? I can tell that they've been in the trap. She goes, well, I've been letting them go because I don't want you to. I said, you realize they're just coming right back into your house. You can't just keep letting them go. But so I guess, watching certain, you just got to watch because, naturally we're not supposed to kill them. So if you trap a wild animal, you can call the pound and they'll actually come and get it for you out of your trap. You just got to watch. You can't have traps set up a certain amount of time, so you got to watch how you do a few jobs.
This is if it's a humane trap, if it's like a glue trap or something like that.
Well, we can do glue traps or snap traps for rats, but like if you're trapping like an armadillo or a possum or a raccoon, you need to have a live trap and a water dish in there so they don't get dehydrated or anything. But with raccoons or anything, you put them in a cage, you can imagine how they're going to react.
Yeah, they're not
So
happy.
you want them picked up pretty quick. They'll hurt themselves more than the cage does. So.
Dang.
Yeah. And it's always a concern. Like anytime we've had a minor infestation problem here, and I'm one of them too. It's always you want to do it the humane way first.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest, sometimes it gets to a point where you got to fix the problem, and you kind of weigh them versus each other. Like you never want to take that ultimate aspect, but some people just want it gone ASAP, yesterday.
They don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was an interesting question. I like that.
Thanks, Colin.
I mean, it is. It's like I'm very much one of the guys is all right, I don't want to waste any of my time on this. I don't really care how it gets done as long as it gets, and I don't mean that to be insensitive at all. I would rather it be done the humane way, right. Of course, but I'm just man, how quickly can it be resolved?
Well, especially if they're causing damage. I mean, something like that, it just presents it completely different.
Most of the men, they're like, don't tell my wife how you're going to do it. Just get it out of the house. Don't tell her. Just say it's already handled. So most of the men just want, like Colin, they just want it done. They don't care how it's done. Just get rid of it.
Just don't want to invest any of my time into it. So right. I'm so glad that there's companies
I'm
like
also,
yours.
I'm also fascinated where that line is, because I don't think there's a lot of people that are worried about the humane treatment of say cockroaches, but as soon as you get to a certain type of animal, suddenly now we care.
Yeah,
dude, that's true though.
You'd be amazed at how many people don't want their rats hurt.
Okay.
So I just tell them, I say, well, unfortunately, I don't remove rats out of the home alive. They're usually going out.
Okay.
So
that's definitely interesting.
I mean, I bet nobody thought that on our podcast we'd be talking about rats.
I didn't think we was going to be talking about rats.
That's funny. So what's ahead? I mean, you've had constant growth, right? Really consistent, and I mean, every time I see growing, I'm like, all right, cool. Do you see it leveling off? I mean, and what do you do when it does? I mean, are you going to be expanding services? What's going through your mind?
I'm already planning on probably hiring 1 or 2 guys this upcoming spring. We hired 2 in the fall to get us through the fall and train them. The growth just keeps coming. You ask if it's going to slow down. Sooner or later you would think it has to, but here I am going on year 13, and I'm still adding 1 or 2 employees every year. We don't advertise. Everything we do is by word of mouth. So that's just a direct reflection on the staff that we have and how good of a job they do. If the economy keeps like it's going right now, and it's super strong, I mean, look at Gainesville's exploding. I mean, if you would have told me this many homes are being built, this many condos and apartments, all the commercial that's coming in this town, I mean, you figure if that's growing like that, the building market controls pretty much all industry. If that building market's doing good, everything else is going to be doing pretty good. And that's why, I mean, I'm basing it on the growth of Gainesville.
It's cool.
When you talk about not advertising, is that a source of pride because of the positive word of mouth? Is it just too much business going on that you don't want to put area of focus there, or is it a natural cap on your scalability because it just helps you grow at a rate that you're comfortable with? It's
both. I think as a business owner, you want growth. You need growth. If you're not growing, your business will die. You got to have growth. And if you grow too fast, you start losing control of the employees and how you train them. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, I guess, probably it was about the 5th or 6th year we had crazy. It was almost 30% growth that year. And I had to hire several people. Well, I had to push them out the door a little quicker than when I normally would have. And our service dropped. And I got a lot of complaints, and it is pride. I'm not used to getting a ton of complaints. And so I thought about it. So I'm not going to sit there and hire all these, just advertising this grow like crazy and then deal with all these complaints. That's not what I wanted. And part of it is I don't have to advertise. When you grow at 15 to 20% a year and you're not spending much on, I'll tell you, I only spent $180 on Yellow Page ad and it does some online stuff, but that's all I pretty much do in my trucks.
Oh, what is that? The book, Yellow Pages?
Yeah, what is that? We do have some old customers here. So they actually use the phone book yet. I haven't actually seen one in a long time, but that's what we do. And it's mainly for the online presence. So, but I don't do any of the pay-per-clicks or any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Out of all of this time in growing your business, what has been the biggest failure to this date? Can you you recall?
The biggest failure?
Yeah, man, I know it hasn't been all roses. I want to know what's happened in your business that's been that you consider my biggest failure that I can learn from.
You know, when you trust in some of the employees too much, I guess. I had a couple of them steal from me.
Okay.
And, you know, I think thinking, having the mindset that, you know, if you treat people good, they're going to treat you good and they're not going to ever do nothing wrong. I guess I was naive in that point, but I think that it's a failure at the point I didn't even recognize it for almost a year, because I used to let people just go and grab whatever chemicals they wanted to get, and they clipped me for about $17,000.
Dang.
But you know what? At the time, I was furious. I mean, I didn't want to be nice to any of the employees, and I wasn't nice, you know, at the time. And you know, I think I actually wanted to sell the business. I actually got that upset, and that it was just a bad time. I just couldn't believe someone did that to me. But with all that said, I got the GPS systems, and I make people sign in and out, and I took more control. So it made me a better business owner, and it made me appreciate the employees that are good a lot more.
Yeah.
So.
Dang. That's definitely.
It's like your worst nightmare. Like
it was.
You fear that, and you never want to believe that it could happen, and it's just such it's such a mental Olympics. Like, I even think about it just like, okay, well, what was the reason that employee felt the need to do that? Were they selling it, you know, often they own for profit? Were they not happy? You know, it's just like, not that any of that should matter. At the end of the day, they stole, and that's, you know, that's bad enough.
Or were they struggling and really needed the money, and instead of like coming to you and just talking to you about, you know, like those are things that go through my mind. I'm always like, man, like, why didn't, if something like that happened here, I'd be like, why didn't you just like come talk to me? Like,
and that's what got me, is because all my employees know my door. The rule is in my office, if my door's open, you can come in.
Yeah.
If the door's open, that means that you can come talk to me, and it's always open. I mean, I very rarely close the door, and so that's what bought. And the couple employees that it was with, I helped out. So I mean, I guess, you know, it's fine. I mean, I see them around town now, and I don't wish them any ill will or nothing. I'm glad they're doing good, and you know, I think deep down they feel a little bit guilty. I mean, at the time they, you know, I think they, you know, I could see one of them definitely felt guilty. He apologized to me, so I mean that was fine. So, but you know, I think it helps when you got a good, like my wife. She's my best friend. She backs me up, and she helps me calm down and sees the other side of things. So it's good to have her.
Has there been anything like that when you look back at the early part of your career, and now you we'll look at where you're at today, you're like, man, I've really grown in this specific area?
So when I say this, the pest control part of it and the termite part of it was almost non-existent when I first bought the business. It was probably 90% lawn spraying. And, you know, you don't want that in your business, 90% of the lawn spraying. You want to be termite, pest control, and lawn. And I would say the termite is, well, I know for a fact the termite's the biggest part of my business now, and pest control should overtake the lawn this year.
Okay.
Coming up in 2020. So it's almost evenly. It's like 40, 30, 30. That's how evenly matched it is. And so, I mean, the growth, it grew in every category. When I say it grew in every category, it literally grew in every category. I mean, you couldn't ask for it to do better the way it did.
Okay. So, same question, but for you as a leader, like your own like characteristics, like is there anything where you look back and you're like, man, I've really grown as a leader in this specific
I think
area? Patience,
sitting back and listening to everybody talk and ask the question. I used to interrupt everybody and finish it would drive my employees, especially my wife, nuts. And I think being able to sit back and I don't sometimes give the answer right away. I'll say, you know what, let me have a few hours to think about this. And that way when I come back, I at least, you know, give them a fair shake and thought about what they asked me.
That's good.
It's one of my favorite lines from Pulp Fiction. If you've ever seen it, there's a line with John Travolta and Uma Thurman. She says, "Do you wait to talk, or do you listen, or you wait to talk?" And he actually thought about it because she caught him on it. And he says, "I wait to talk, but I'm trying to change that."
Hold on, where'd my last question go? Oh, so I know like you're I don't know if you're a big routine guy, but you have you have a pretty solid routine.
I do.
Right. I know from the fact that like what time you wake up early, right? You're
I'm
early,
up every day by 3.
You're dude, this is like the second interview in a row. Okay? Like, how are you guys getting up at 3? Like, I mean, we just.
What time do you go to bed?
Usually between 9 and 9:30.
10. Okay, 9:30. Okay.
Now on weekends I'll stay up a little bit longer, but
All right, so we just had Steve Noodleberg on the podcast, and like
I made my bed and drank something green this morning, just so you know. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, so did I. And I woke up at 4:30 this morning.
There you go. That's what time I wake up. That's what I thought was doing well. It's not 3.
I'm definitely trying, but
willingly.
3 a.m.
So when I was a kid, me and my brother was made to get up early to work at my parents' bait and tackle business, and so we had to be out there by 5.
Okay, so it was just almost habit by then. Huh?
Even when we go on vacation, I'm up at 3, and it's not that I would love to sleep. And I actually envy when people say I slept into 7 today. I was like, oh, I would love to see what it's like, But I wake up at 3, and it's like I don't even need an alarm clock. I wake up, and I'm never in a bad mood. I'm always like, okay, let's do this. Yep. And I get up, I get a cup of coffee, I do my prayers, I do a little bit of reading, and then I go I'm usually at the gym by 5, and then I come back, shower, then I'm try to get to the office before 6:30.
Dang. And you're pretty good about cutting it off, right? Like you hit 5 o'clock and
5 o'clock. I don't even let my employees take their phones home. They're not supposed to anyways. I mean, I say when you leave the office or if you're in your truck, 5 o'clock the phone turns off. They say, well, I said it doesn't matter. I go, your customers, they're going to wait. There's nothing you're going to do. Are you going to go there at 5 o'clock? Are you going to take care of the problem? They go, well, no. There's nothing you can do. And the problem is going to be there tomorrow too. And after, if you train your customers that way, trust me, they won't call you after 5. And no one ever, on the weekends, I got 2 phones. On the weekends, they virtually never call me anymore on the weekends.
Dang.
So I love it.
I could talk about this topic forever because I think that there's an interesting line between trying to give as much customer service as possible and then being true to yourself and to your team and giving them time to just be away and letting, like you said, training the customers, but kind of doing things on your terms. I think in our experience, at least sometimes I feel like we try so hard to go above and beyond that sometimes it makes everything a little, I won't say below average, but not as good as it could have been if you channel those efforts positively towards a shorter amount of time, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think the big thing for me is my kids and my wife. I was never given, it was never, you'd be on vacation, Disney World, talking to someone. I mean, I think the biggest one is when my youngest one, we was playing basketball and I took a phone call. And here it is, 15 minutes in a phone call, I see him put the ball down and walk in the house. And I was like, oh man, I could see the look on his face. I just let him down. So I decided then, I said, you know what, when it hits 5 o'clock, that's my family. And that's what I do. I mean, so if I'm in my truck on the way home, you can reach me. But once we get in the driveway, I turn on mute. So, and it's done.
And how long have you been in business before you made like that decision, that cutoff?
Probably about 5th year, maybe. Okay. 5th or 6th year.
Because I'm kind of going back to like see, when I went your thoughts on it, right? I'm definitely like the customer service guy. Like message me at 10 o'clock, and if I'm like available, like I'm gonna take care of it. And because I look at it as a competitive advantage, but I also look at it as for us, like I don't know, it's interesting. Like I want to say like very, I don't want to use the word hustle. I'll say hustle oriented, very growth focused, and like Brian over here, he's like, oh, we're growing no matter what. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, maybe not all of us are growing no matter what, and we have to like hustle our faces off in order to like get to that point, right? And Brian's like, oh, well, like, yeah, we're gonna quadruple our business in 2020.
Early on,
not all of us have it that easy.
Well, early on, I wouldn't turn a job. There was no such thing as turning down a job. I mean, there was homes that we had to dig our way underneath. And my guys, why'd you take this job? I go, because it has dollars. Okay. And we need them. I said, but it just reached a point where the guys they were falling into the same life that I was falling in. And they were taking phone calls at 8:30 at night, and I said, God, they're there with their families and they're thinking that they have to work like this. And I just said, no, we're not going to do this.
Yeah. It's definitely something that I've gotten a lot better at personally, and actually it's funny because this past weekend I was up super early. And no joke, the kids woke up at 6 a.m. and they're like out in the living room. They're like, and I was working when they woke up, and they asked, Maddox was like, Dad, why are you up so early working? I'm like, because I want to be able to go to your basketball game today and focus on your basketball game. I don't want to be consumed and worried or focused on these things that I have to do. So I've gotten a lot better, really, because of knowing individuals like you that do that, of really saying, okay, I'm gonna dedicate this time, and I, on Sunday, I knew that I was gonna have to work, because I have a lot going on. So I spent a lot of time working on Sunday, but I've done a good job of, even in my calendar, scheduling out the blocks of time, even on the weekends, being all right, I'm gonna work on these specific times this weekend. And so I just schedule out the time.
And that's the other thing you got to do is, when you want time, like you just said, schedule your time off. So
yeah,
it's hard.
It's hard.
Oh,
it is hard. I'm getting better though. I think I've done a really, really good job. And actually, I'm actually showing my team this. I call it a daily accountability thing that I've been doing. We use a task-oriented program called ClickUp here at the dealership and with our media company, and I've created a daily accountability list. And so it basically just has all of these, it's a very task-oriented list, right? But that just lays out all these different points. And when you check one off, the task comes back with the due date of being the next day. And so one of them is prayer. One of them is meditation. One of them is, quality time with the boys, quality time with Shannon. There's probably 20, 25 different things in there. And then there's things that I'll put on a weekly rotation. But it's good because it's popping up in my email every single morning, and I'm seeing those things, being all right, I need to hold myself accountable to doing this. And so far it's working pretty good. So I'm pretty amped about it. But
once you get in a routine, you guys all talk about how early it is, but how late do some of y'all stay up working on stuff?
Yeah, pretty late sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
But it's funny because this is what's so great about the podcast is when we have the opportunity to pick the minds of really smart business leaders, right? There's a lot of commonalities in the successful ones, right? And luckily, everybody's successful in their own right, and a lot of people are still trying to figure it out. We've had a wide variety of people on the show, right? But when I look at the people and I'm like, man, this is somebody that I really admire. They have those attributes, right? It's very, and one of them is waking up early.
Like I said, I never wanted to be that, but I was that way. I think because of my parents' business, we had to get up there and do that. I think that's what started it.
Yeah.
So, but I do.
And sorry to cut you off. In today's day and age too, kind of like what Steve was talking about with, by 9 a.m. the rest of the world is awake, right? So you are getting messages, and you are getting emails, and you are getting social media messages. You are getting all these things. Whereas you can if you can wake up at 3 a.m. I'm not quite there yet, but 4:30 a.m. I'm getting the last week in practicing this in Steve's episode. You are getting an hour and a half of peace, focused time, and you can really bust out a lot of work in that hour and a half. So I don't know.
Yeah, I use it for personal time because for me it's tonight I don't know if I'm going to be home at 7. I don't know if I'm going to be home at 11.
Wow.
I have no idea, but I know that if I wake up at 4:30, from 4:30 until this morning 8, but usually till 9 or 10, that's the time I can do what I need to do for me. Go to the gym, grocery shop, catch up on chores, rest, read, anything like that. So
yeah. Well, it's been great because my kids they wake up at 6, get ready for school. So then I shut it down at 6, and I have that 1 hour to help them with breakfast and whatever, anything else, just but just that family time, and then they're off to school, and then the day starts, you know. So I don't know. I think it's, you know, I understand. So it's always going to be different for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's involved in different activities and different. So there's no one perfect routine, and you have to like absolutely find the one that's best for you.
But you got to wake up early.
But I think you have to wake up early. That's one thing I'm starting to figure out.
So if that's the case, I'll have 2 kids successful and the other one won't be.
Because sleeps in all the time.
Wasn't that usually the case anyway?
All my kids are, you know, they're so much smarter than I am. But yeah, it's funny because one of them, he would sleep all day if you let him, but he'll stay up all night long, and he's so bright, and he'll say stuff to me. Sometimes I'm like, God, I gotta look up that word. What did he even use on me? So, but he is. The kids are really neat to watch because my daughter, she's like I am. Like she gets up every day and most of the days and goes to the gym with me.
Okay.
Yeah, she's pretty ambitious.
How old is she?
She's 19. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, she'll be 20. She goes to UF.
Yeah.
Did she do that because it's learned behavior from you, or?
You know, I think so. I think she started, you know, early on. She likes getting up early. I mean, when she was little though, we'd go to the beach and she'd come get me. Let's go get some shells, or let's go do this. And so me and her was always the first one up, going out and doing stuff together.
That's cool. She
Yeah.
probably realized that she could get that quality time with you.
Yeah, she could talk me into stuff.
I mean, I always talk about like, you know, the 5 love languages, you know, and like your kids. I mean, trying to figure out what my kids' love language is, and my kids are definitely. I mean, I can pinpoint it to quality time for sure.
Time, yeah.
They like that focus. I mean, when you were talking about your kid in the basketball and like walking inside, like I could totally see that happening in my life, you know. So like. It's good. They cherish that quality time, that 1-to-1.
Yep, they all do.
So cool. This has been a lot of fun, man.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for
Goes
coming
by
on.
fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Thanks for sharing your story. Where can our audience find you? Is it like your website, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, website's www.brookerpestcontrol.com.
Okay. And Brian's not a big social media guy.
Yeah, where can they find you on TikTok?
Yeah, you on TikTok
I
there, Brian?
just learned about that today.
But they're on Facebook, so just go look them up, Brooker Pest Control, and say what up, hire their business. And dude, thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys.
It was a lot
Enjoyed
of fun.
it.
Awesome. This is the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. Brian, give us your best whoa.
Whoa.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.